Welcome to my daily review. Today is Thursday, May 1, May Day. No distress signals today as you're taking a look at a daily chart of the Nasdaq. And it was up 264 points, 1.52%, kind of another, follow through type of day. So good action here as Wednesday we saw the index pull back in the morning, gapped lower down to the 21 and then reversed higher, closed near the high of the session. I thought that would bode well for today. And of course, Microsoft and Meta came through with strong earnings and we gapped higher. But you can see now we have this inverted hammer candle, which indicates probably maybe a little lower open tomorrow. We'll have to wait and see. But a good day overall. If we take a look at the 5 minute chart, anyway. I got to go back here because a couple of things are just bugging me. Yeah, it was up 264 points or 1.52%, closed at 17,710. But the volume, and I keep pointing this out, there's like three or four of these penny stocks that are trading insane volume that's driving up the volume on the Nasdaq. And it's not indicative of the majority of the stocks on the Nasdaq. Anyway, just wanted to point that out. It's not, yeah, the volume is just, it's not credible data right now. Anyway, we can see here the Nasdaq gapped higher, traded very strongly the first, I don't know, hour. It's up to 17,922 and then sold off into the close. A little caution ahead of Amazon and Apple earnings tonight. But overall, a solid day. Couple things here that, it did find support at the 21. The 10 has now traded through the 21. So the 10 and the 21 are stacked. It closed above the 50, rallied through the 50 and closed above it. So these short-term averages now are hopefully, if the rally continues, they're going to drive through this shorter, longer-term moving average, which is the 50. And, eventually through the 200 as we, get into a power trend, right? But why not? We'll just take it one day at a time, though. Today was a constructive day, although I will say that it was driven mostly by Microsoft and Meta, and the breadth was not all that great for the Nasdaq. I guess I'll go to the SPY, similar type of action, traded above the 50. Well, that's right. I got to give you the number. The data's on the Nasdaq here. The S&P 500 closed just a tick above the 50, 2.5% below this black line, which is the 200. And I've got to give you the Nasdaq data here because now it's above the 50. Yay! 1% above the 50 and 3.3% above this. Now it's downtrending 200 moving average. So yeah, I think things are looking pretty good for this rally overall. Through the 50 is definitely a positive. These closes above the 21, definitely a positive. It's just got a lot of work to do because there's a lot of technical damage that was done here, between December 16th and April 7th. Anyway, I'm going to move on to, I mentioned earlier, this is what drove the market today, the Microsoft and Meta Platforms earnings report. This is Microsoft. 7% move with 138% above average daily volume. That's fantastic move for Microsoft. I just got to go to the weekly here and you got to worry about overhead supply, when you're buying a breakout like this. So everybody that bought above this line here now ready to sell, right? When they get back to even. So there is a little bit of overhead supply in Microsoft, but a nice, $33 move up to 425. There's nothing to sneeze at there. That's a hell of a move for Microsoft. Still a long way off the high. If I go here, it's 9.2% off the 52-week high, which was made back last June, I believe, or July 4th. I think it was July 4th. Yeah. Anyway, so it's going on, 10 months now. All right. Meta Platform reported a quarter, good quarter here. You can see the numbers, 37% EPS, 16% sales. Rallied up to its moving average and then got rejected. They still have, some question marks, uncertainty around their FTC. I don't know what you'd call it, their dilemma with the FTC. So that is unsolved as of this, today. So still a nice move. 4% move for Meta Platforms, $23 up to 572. those two drove the indexes. We did get some pin action. I'm always looking around for pin action with some of the software names, and not with Monday. What was I thinking of? Oh, Snowflake. Snowflake. Yeah, I got some pin action here off the Microsoft data, and then GoDaddy had a nice day, up 2%. But some other names that I thought would do well, but did not, was Palantir, but it's been up a lot. I mean, straight up off the lows, 66 to 120, pull back a little bit today, kind of to be expected. They're going to report earnings next week, Monday, in fact. So, a little caution ahead of earnings, and it's had a big run. It makes sense to take profits in that. But, Microsoft and Meta did not carry, everything today. It was just, there's a lot of stocks that, didn't perform well. Robinhood was one that I was really surprised at. This is one that, I think that's quarter after quarter, year after year, they're going to keep delivering strong earnings report. Of course, it's not going to be linear. It's not going to be every quarter blow up, but this is a very strong quarter, triple digit earnings growth, 50% sales growth, strong margins. They said that there was a lot of trading going on, and which it kind of surprised me because usually when you get these corrections, these downturns, people kind of turn away from the market. But they said record trading, so it's a platform that people like, and I think as the boomers, they use Schwab and Fidelity, and some of the younger crowd, they go to Robinhood. Just that's just I don't know, but the reaction, you're not always going to get a positive reaction like they got last time when it rallied up to 66. This time, good report, just kind of was down 5%. That really surprised me. I think it gapped up at the open, yeah, and then sold off all day. So yeah. Not the type of reaction I would expect from a quarter like that, but you got to give it some time. All right, another report was from Qualcomm last night, and yeah, down 9%. Not a good. But you know what I saw was CoreWeave. This thing was up. Huh. Anyway, I digress. Yeah, 44.32 closed, 7% up. Yeah, all right. I digress. Guardian Health. That's what I wanted to get to. These are on the relative strength stock list that I posted, MC stock charts. In the morning, Guardian Health is one up 3.4%. They had earnings today and a nice response to earnings with volume still right there at 50.89. I would be a buyer there if it could take that out, even 49.90. Yeah, anything maybe above 50 there looks good. It looks like it, closed at the lows of the session there. It had been trading tight, and you get this big old bar on earnings. That's pretty typical. This one, yeah, the high 52.92, the low 47. So that's a pretty broad range, like 10% range. Close at 31% of that daily range. And oh, there you go. See, gap at the open, then a sell-off, and then kind of just traded between the high and the low all day. So Guardian Health, though, still looks pretty good there, still consolidating within a base. Take a look at the weekly. Yeah, so you had this base here and it ran up. Now another base. You can see the RS line heading due north. The earnings look pretty good. So yeah, Guardian Health is one that I'm watching. All right, the group is top 15 group here. Okay, so that was last night's earnings. This morning, we heard from Eli Lilly, and this thing sold off $100. I couldn't believe it because Novo made a deal with CVS to sell Wegovy, and they're not going to sell Zepbound anymore. I guess, that's what knocked the stock down because it was, 45% sales growth for a company this size is pretty crazy. Yeah, but to not be knocked down, $104, 12%. Kind of crazy move here. I think, of course, I think it's an overreaction. Look at the earnings, heading due north. You could say this thing's overvalued, though it's richly valued. It's got a market cap of 750, billion, so it's not a cheap stock with well 50 billion in sales. So yeah, it's not a cheap stock, but yeah, and that seems kind of harsh just because NVO had a deal with CVS and NVO was up, but sold off. It was gapped higher on that news and then sold off all day. Still, not bad there at 66. They're going to report earnings next week on the 7th, which is what, Wednesday. and they're going to discuss. I think they're going to be first to market with their oral, their weight loss pill. So anyway, another earnings report. I did mention CVS. They reported in the morning. The deal with NVO didn't hurt. Their report, you know, up 4%. They got 7% sales growth, still consolidating within this, big base here, trying to break out of it, trying to move out. See that earnings line starting to head north now. So maybe CVS will follow up on this 4% move today. Now, McDonald's reported this morning, somebody's eating their lunch, no pun intended. They were down nearly 2% today, but they had same-store sales, global same-store sales were down 1%, just like Starbucks. These are U.S., essentially thought of as U.S. companies. They're global companies, though. And maybe, I don't know, somebody's either boycotting them or somebody's taking market share from McDonald's. I think Dutch Bros is taking market share from Starbucks in the United States. I don't know about, globally what's going on. But I don't know, maybe in the States, Shake Shack is taking some of their share. Shake Shack reported this morning, had a decent response here. Nice volume move up 1%. 10% sales growth, but their same store sales are improving while McDonald's is, declining. Roblox reported this morning. Nice move from Roblox. I've been talking about this one, but it's, I can't buy ahead of earnings, but trading tight here within the base, it's a good sign of accumulation. And today it popped, nearly 3%. And then Take-Two, this gaming software, gaming group is really starting to flex here. It's a top 11 group, and Take-Two is just driving higher every day. That thing's surfing on its 5 EMA. If I would switch that to the 5, I could bet you that it's finding support at the 5 EMA, like I showed you with some of these winning stocks. There it is. Take-Two, definitely a leader, with Netflix and TGTX and CrowdStrike and Palantir. There, it's just surfing the 5 there. That's a thing of beauty, and that's what we see when we get into uptrends. These leading stocks find support at their 5. All right. They surf their 5. All right. I want to get to Builder First Source. And this is a source subject source, down 6%. Now I was looking to see, because this is a home builder type of stock. It's a supply for the home builders, and didn't have a lot of pin action here with these home builders. These things have been beaten up. Looks like Pulte made a low there at 88, traded at 101 today. DR Horton wasn't really impacted by that builder report. So that's a good sign. PWR Quanta Services, nice move here, 10%, $29 move, breaking out of this. That's got to be a stage 1 base. Yeah, definitely. Nice undercut here. Rally back above. Looks fantastic. PWR, which reminds me, somebody asked me last week to cover Sterling. They're in the same group here, and this looks pretty damn good. They report Monday. So, a little pen action here on Sterling, 7% move on the power or the Quanta Services earnings report. This carrier, their business is hot and cold. The stock was hot today, up to the 200 and get rejected there. Let's see what that looks like on a 5-minute chart. Oh no, just driving higher. So let's see if tomorrow it can trade above that 200. It closed at 88% of the daily range. So nice day for Carrier Global, up nearly 12%. Let me see what else I have. Garden. Okay, I'm going to move on then. Okay, yeah, I'm going to move on uh, to. I got to go to some cosmetics, personal care. This is right up my alley, right? They reported yesterday. This is Oddity, ODD, an Israeli cosmetics company. Anyway, you can see that it gapped higher on earnings and then followed through today. And this is what I'm looking for with companies that are gapping higher on earnings. Do they follow through, or do they gap and crap, or do they go sideways? It's important because it kind of tells you the health of the market. A lot of times in a bear market, they'll just go up one day, be sold instantly, and come right back to their pivot point. In a choppy market, they'll kind of go sideways and they can't follow through. So maybe, we can get some of these breakouts that are trading higher and they follow through with volume here. So that's what I'm looking for. This is a small company. I mean, $3.5 billion market cap, but it's just, this is the type of stuff that I look for. HCSG, This is a commercial services healthcare. What do they got? Housekeeping, laundry services. Okay. Long-term care facilities. Man, nice breakout here and moving higher. So that's the kind of thing you want to see here. Once again, a 1 billion market cap, very small company. Cardinal Healthcare Services. This one made a new high today. 3% move. I'm sure this one's going to be showing up on the relative strength list. You can see it was surfing the 5 here, and now today blasted way higher. Now it's 3.2% above the 5. So very strong move for Cardinal. What else do I have here? Oh, LRN. They did not report earnings. They're going to report, or did they report earnings? Maybe they did. I'll have to look into that. But anyway, up 6%, breaking out of this base here, and this is what I'm looking for. Can it continue to follow through that 145 breakout level? Now it closed above 150. So those stocks look good, and I cannot go much further without mentioning the cybersecurity names. They're really perking up here. This is Zscaler. They don't report until the end of the month, and you can see here, close at the lows of the session. Yeah, okay. So it ran up and then at the end sold off. Kind of, caution ahead of this Amazon and Apple earnings tonight. They're going to definitely move the needle tomorrow, just like Meta and Microsoft did today. CrowdStrike, I mentioned that one earlier, definitely a leader. Made this big move out of the cup with handle pattern. Now it's in, trying to push away from its base here. Yeah, it was flat on the session. They're going to report at the end of the month as well. Same as Zscaler. Rubrik, another one that I like. I didn't see what that one's been doing, but this is another one that I think is, cybersecurity is essential in today's society. This has got a 13 billion market cap, double bottom base pattern. I don't know. I think over time, this one's going to be trading a lot higher. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Fortinet. Another company, FTNT. We don't want Dupree. This is a top group here. This top 10 group, Fortinet consolidating within a base. I like that. They're going to report earnings next Wednesday, so pay attention to that. 102.34 definitely be an entry point there for me, but buying ahead of earnings is a crapshoot, as we saw with WGS on Wednesday. Followed through only 7% to the downside today. Ouch. Anyway, I digress. Just a couple other ones that I wanted to show in the networking group. Netgear up 16%, up on volume. Nice move. Extreme Networks, that was up on volume as well. Okay, not bad. Still consolidating. Got a ways to go. That one, not too good. All right. I got to go to the drug names. I did mention, ADMA. They got FDA approval, cap tire, and I believe Monday, was it? Yeah. And then, just pull back to its 5 year, doing nothing wrong. They report on Wednesday. They have to raise guidance. I mean, when you have an approval from the FDA that's going to increase your blood volumes like 20%, I mean, that's 20% revenue, that's 20% volume, that's 20%. They're not going to raise 20%, but if they raise 5% or 10%, that would, be enough to move the stock. I think, they're going to report a strong quarter and raise guidance. So pull back to the 5. Nothing wrong with that. I believe I have this one on my ready list this week. If I look through my paperwork here, I got nothing but chicken scratches everywhere. Yeah, I do. I moved up the buy point to 2070 right there, the standard buy point. So if you look at the weekly, you can see this cup with handle, and there's your fake breakout. But they got earnings next week, but still it's up, 6.5% this week. So that's better than a sharp stick in the eye. As my dad used to say. I did mention Novo with their deal with CVS. I showed you WGS, which followed through to the downside. SLNO. Another one, this thing just goes up every day. I saw it was down earlier and now it's up again. So, yeah, above the 5, very nice move for that one. Hims and hers, this one's perking up here. It had this base and then ran up to 72, maybe got ahead of itself, but corrected with the market, like everything else pretty much. Came down, made this low here of 23, and now it's starting to rally back above all of its moving averages here. A 9% move today, so a nice move for Hims. I was watching this one, yeah, just climbing all day today. That's great if you're trading like weekly options. Oh, the other one is TGTX. They report Monday. They announced that yesterday morning, I believe. Anyway, what you want to see here, if you're long, you want to see it kind of pull back here. It was really getting above the five here today. Still closed 3.7% above its five. So a pullback to the five would not hurt anything. Come Monday morning, they're going to deliver earnings, and they have to, I think they guided to 115 million in sales. Wall Street bumped it to 117. So if they just do 120, that's fine. Wall Street's like, it's not what have you done for me lately? It's what are you going to do for me in the future? And so they have to raise guidance, and they're pretty conservative doing that. So I don't know how much they're going to raise guidance. They could certainly raise it, I don't know, 560, 570. I don't know what they're going to do, but that's what's going to move this stock. And if they don't do it, it'll probably sell off because it's made this big move here in the last few weeks. Yeah, so lightening up into earnings wouldn't be the dumbest thing to do. It was up 4% 3 weeks ago, 7.85% last week, and it's up almost 10% this week, running into earnings. So yeah, if they don't raise significantly, it's probably going to be a buy the rumor, sell the news type of thing. But if they do, raise significantly, I would say this is your base here, 43.32. I mean, regardless if they raise or not, there's your base, 43.32. So ideally, what you'd want it to do is just kind of come back to that little buy area, and then Monday back up to like $50 would be a nice move. All right. I'm going to move on from the drug names. I've got to go to defense. Defense wins championships. And How I Met Your Mother is very important. How I Met Aerospace, another one of these, gapping out of a base here, 7% move, double bottom base pattern. We got the volume, we got everything we like. How is this going to respond in the next days and weeks ahead? Is it going to power higher through 150, through 155, through 160, or is it going to be a wimp and come back to that 138 buy point? Time will tell. But watching this one, that is a nice move right there. DRS is another one in this defense space. Right there, $38 buy point. Nice move today, 9% with volume. So we'll see how these react in the coming days. And you're talking defense, you got to go to GE. Yeah, GE still consolidating within a base here, not bad. OSIS, which is OSI Systems, and you can see this is a top five group. This is a thinly traded name, less than a 4 billion market cap, but just acknowledging the strength there with volume, trying to break out of this base at 220, a 10% move is not going to be ignored, Dan. A lot of these stocks in this group are showing strength here. You cannot ignore this. This is Kratos, another defensive name, 5 billion market cap, consolidating within a base. Hasn't broken out yet. They report next Wednesday. And I kind of like some of these smaller names here. MRCY, Mercy. Mercury Systems, have mercy on me. Consolidating within a base, double bottom base pattern here. Pattern Rec's not picking that up, but that's definitely a double bottom base there at 39, rallying back up the right side. So, it's kind of trading tight within the base. I like that action. They're going to report on Tuesday, pulling back to the five. That thing looks sweet. Yeah, nice chart. But, nice charts don't always work out. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you for watching at mcstockcharts.com. We never give up. In honor of the great Steve Jobs. One more thing, and then we got to go to Apple. They reported earnings tonight. I was thinking they were going to kind of bomb. They've got a lot of things going against them. They're trying to move a lot of their inventory out of China and into India. And when you're moving that much cargo, it's a little cumbersome, but I guess they had a decent quarter. The stock's selling off, I don't know, 2%, not bad after hours. I have to go through the data. They're having their conference call, I believe, right now as I speak. So more will be revealed in the morning. I did see I believe it was their laptops and their iPads sold a little better than expected, and their services a little weaker than expected. But, overall, I mean, this thing's a behemoth. Probably not going to go anywhere anytime soon. Amazon, I think they disappointed on their AWS, and that's what's going to knock the stock down tomorrow. So you got Apple and Amazon down after hours, 2-3%. Not the end of the world, but probably not going to bode well for the Nasdaq and the QQQ. But it could be opposite today, where we saw Meta and Microsoft driving the index higher, and there's a lot of weakness. Maybe tomorrow these things will drive the index lower, and we'll see some of these underlying stocks showing strength. I've got to get to the stock that I posted on my weekend video about, I think over time I posted like 10 or 12 stocks that I think are going to deliver strong earnings over time. And Reddit was one of them. Now they reported a strong quarter last time and just sold off, with the market. But I mean, this thing went from what, 230 to 79. Now it started to rally back up to its 50 and got rejected today there at 118. But after hours, strong report, and this time they're going to have a positive response. So you just don't know. It's still, just an early in its infancy of, a company, a public company. They're taking market share, I believe, from Twitter, which has turned into a real disaster. Musk doesn't even care about it anymore. And these guys are taking market share. I think they wanted to say 400 million users come and visit Reddit every day. I go there every day just to browse around. I don't really post much there, but just to kind of see what, there's stock pages, Wall Street bets. But anyway, nice report. I just think going forward, they're going to continue to deliver strong quarter after quarter. You never know how the market's going to react to a quarter, but this time it looks positive. So good for Reddit. IoT, I did not see their quarter. Samsara, okay, nothing. Team, I did see this thing was selling off. 15% move to the downside, Ikes. So not good for Team. Airbnb, this is a business model I would stay away from. I'm not buying Airbnb. Too much risk, too much liability. Down 4% after hours. Yeah, that's not a business model I'm interested in. Okay, I got Team, I got Reddit. Oh, Amgen reported, and I guess their weight loss drug is doing well. I don't know. It's up $2, not much of a move after hours. This is, a very large 150 billion market cap, just consolidating within a base. That's a slow and steady wins the race type of stock. Um, Duolingo reported after hours. I saw they had a good report. Yeah, nice response here. And this makes sense to me when you see Learn and these education stocks because education is changing a lot. People are taking education. Education's super expensive, so you take it upon yourself to learn yourself, adult learning. And Duolingo is kind of like fits in there for modern language. Definitely riding the five here after this gap higher. Tomorrow is going to challenge that 441 area, so we like Duolingo. I like that stock a lot. Anyway, I didn't put it on my list, did I? I don't think I did. I put Spotify, but not Duolingo. 5.9 computer software reported after hours up 2%. Not bad, right? Square, this is another guy. He doesn't even care. It's XYZ now, excuse me. He's too busy changing ticker symbols. Block. Yeah, Dorsey, he doesn't care. He doesn't care about this company. It's pretty obvious. Down 17% after hours. If the CEO doesn't care, there's no reason to own the stock. Twilio reported after hours. I saw a strong report and a good move higher. They got Elliott Management involved here. They pulled some shenanigans last time where they guided higher before earnings, and then when earnings came, they guided lower or they missed their guidance and sold off. And now here we go again, right up 8% to 106, but definitely a company I'd stay away from. I think that's it for after hours. Apple and Amazon are definitely going to move the needle tomorrow, but you're going to have some winners like Reddit and Duolingo. And tomorrow morning, we're going to hear from stocks like Chevron and Exxon. This will move the XLE. That's like 45% of the XLE, which I think oil I saw today was below $60. Wendy's reports in the morning. Maybe they're taking market share from McDonald's. Who knows? Apollo reports tomorrow morning. I'll have more on this tomorrow morning. And then Cigna, another one of these healthcare, managed care stocks. You could see this consolidating with a cup with handle pattern here. So I'm looking forward to hearing from Signet in the morning. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you for watching at mcstockcharts.com. We never give up. Have a great May Day.